We'll be starting the meeting with an opening remarks by Dr. Hari. Then
You
2 minutes. 2 minutes. See, you start at least 1 minute, even though you have mentioned that your throat is not all right.
Yeah.
At least set the tempo.
Sure.
So next is I'll be talking about just 2 or 3 minutes about the water situation and some of the reports which you are getting in the Niti Aayog. Then Ganesh Shanbag may talk for around 1 or 2 minutes. Then our speaker, Sunil, he will speak for around 20 minutes along with this person where he has benefited the water harvesting. He will speak for 10 minutes. Then discussions will be around 35 to 40 minutes. Hopefully we will end by around 7:15. So this is the program.
Namaste, Sunil Mysore. Lot of wonderful things our Suresh Bhai has been telling us all about you. Look forward to listening to you today. Ganesh,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ganesh Shanbag has put some link there. Can you explain to us, Ganesh? That link there.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Doctor. So this was shared with all of us by in our WOW group by I think it was Satish Mallya sir who sent this today morning. And last week there was a print media article by Deccan Herald, and the journalist was Rashid Khanam, whom I know personally. Kaman, yeah, Rashid Kaman. Kappan, yeah, I mean, so I have been interacting with him. So today there was a very beautiful podcast as well on their radio channel. So this actually gives a very nice insight as to taking the geographic advantage of Bangalore, the rainfall pattern and the usage pattern and all these things, right? So Bangalore is one of the such cities which can be water surplus, right? We consume, say, 200 crore liters of water every day from Kaveri Basin and another 200 crore liter from our groundwater. They put together around 400 crore liters of water together we consume. But having said that, we can still be water surplus if we go with proper rainwater harvesting, proper sewage treatment. We should kind of fill in all our tanks, whatever our ancestors have built with the treated water and all this kind of thing, will still be water surplus. So the podcast is about that. I would request everyone over here to just make a bookmark of this link, whatever I have put up on the chat window, and probably like listen at your leisure time. It is about 25-minute podcast and it's really nice. It's very well done, and it is done by Dr. TV Ramchandra, if I'm not wrong. I'm sure doctor would have is knowing about him. We will try to get him in one of the WOW sessions so that we will directly listen from the horse's mouth. So that's what I wanted to see.
Wonderful. You actually started the meeting by saying so. It's 6:01, so we should get started. Namaste, Prasad. Nice to see you here. Glad to see that you are back to normal. People like you cannot be stopped. You are unstoppable.
Very good evening. I'm not normal, but still I couldn't have missed this meeting, right?
I just sent you a message saying, are you well? Are you going to join? You know?
Yeah, thanks.
You live 100 years.
Good evening, Dr. Prasad.
Yeah. In fact, our Prasad has been doing some very good work. He got a very lovely meeting for all of us with the top brass in Rotary from Delhi who are working on conservation. As many of you will know, perhaps, Rotary has focused a great deal on health for many years. I'm saying for at least the last 25 years. But they have had, one focus that has been on water. Now, thanks to people like B.K. Prasad, they are trying to see how they can, expand the sort of attention and that they give to the spectrum of water challenges across. They're looking at watersheds, which means the countryside. They're also looking at solutions for urban water management. And there'll be more that we will definitely do between Rotary and WOW. It's clear from what Prasad said. Somewhere he will speak today. To pick up from where our Ganesh spoke about, TVR and I go back, I don't know, maybe about 15 years now. He has worked extensively on lakes to sustain. He continues to have, a teaching position there at the Center for Ecological Sciences. At the Center for Ecological Sciences in IISc. And written lots of papers, very hands-on guy, has taken on the government has threatened him, lots of MLAs have gone and, to his office and said, who are you? I say, we will see what we will do in your house and all that. does not, one of those rare few people that I know who don't carry a mobile. He doesn't have a mobile. If you want to reach him, you have to only call his landline in his office, which means you can get him only between some 10 and 5:30 or 6. Works with a few students of his, who are doing incubating some research or the other. Good morning, Mary. Nice to see you here as usual. Yeah. And
Indrani has also joined.
Indrani has also come. Very
nice.
Lovely. She's been looking
Great
forward
to
it.
be here.
Yeah, nice to see you here, Mary, and and Indrani. So effectively, I'm beginning to see that into the next meeting. Why later, Ganesh? Into the next WOW meeting, 29th January, Saturday. I was telling Suresh Prakash, who sent this link to me first. Then I saw it with Satish Malya sending. I've mailed TVR today just now, and he will come back. Normally, he will respond to me. And let's have him. If he is coming in, you see, Ganesh, I must tell you, sometime I think in August, I thought of getting TVR. But the problem with TVR is he will, you have to give him a full 1 hour. You can't stop him once he gets started, And therefore, for some, I kept putting it out because this is more a discussion, not a lecture. The whole, the format that we have for WOW, You can see this. I mean, we are not even, good evening, Mr. Nandkumar. He is also here from ICCW. Very nice to have him. Look at this. All leaders consistent in their commitment, as I was seeing in another mail today in the morning. And this is no webinar for us to get people like TVR. That's the reason I didn't get him, Ganesh, all this while. But anyway, since he's coming
this has been a challenge with Dr. TVR, as well as if you see Nagesh Hegde or Shri Padre for that matter, all go in the similar lines, right? I mean, we have to give them good amount of time because of the legacy they carry with them.
Correct. They also have been, I think they have so many stories to tell. That's the thing. So we will get him next. I will ensure that he comes in for the 29th. And like you said, you can talk to Rashid. I messaged him Monday after I saw that Sunday report. I sent him an SMS saying, let's see if we can talk. He did not come in. But anyway, you are saying that you have spoken to him.
I spoke to him today morning.
Yeah, he's all right. He will come in. I'm sure we'll get him. But that also means, like our Mr. Rao has been saying, Sitapati Rao has been saying from Hyderabad forever, that you got to talk about lakes. See, one shift in the discourse, and I'll finish with this, Suresh, if you don't mind, only one more minute.
Yeah.
The shift in the discourse I am seeing, thanks to what we heard in Trichy, what we heard in Chennai also, is that we look beyond the bulk water user and the citizen who can catalyze action to challenges at the level of the city, which means lakes, which means surface water management. That line that we sent as a blog post, 73% of Bangalore's water demand can be met with only rainwater harvest, reports Deccan Herald or reports, let us say, TV Ramchandra, has to be studied for its let's say, effectiveness. I mean, if you go by the statistic, as Ganesh has constantly pointed out in the last 3-4 months, we know that there is enough rainwater that falls on the city, about 950 billion liters. If I take 1 hectare is 10 million liters, and you do the math on some 750 square kilometers, class 6 mathematics student will tell you how much the amount is. Right? But the point is that the way if some of you have heard what TVR is saying, we need to ask him. I say, if you say like this, the how and the what has to be explained of that conversation. And we shall look forward, therefore, to those two people. But the shift in discourse will happen. That means we are moving from citizen action, Bangalore is moving, into also addressing some of these concerns at the city level, city scale. As Mary keeps saying, there is a building scale, there is a city scale. So city scale challenges mean government. And that is one of the reasons, if I may submit, and I may have been wrong, in the last 1 year, I was constantly steering away from challenges, despite the advice of people like Mr. Sitapati Rao, that we should address issues like lakes and surface water management. In fact, if you know, Mr. Tippeswamy also came in and talked about it in one of the sessions that we had sometime in July or August. So, and that is all I will say today. We will look forward to Mr. Sunil Mysore, and I think Suresh Pai will introduce him. Sunil Mysore has been, what I liked most from the small short description that our Suresh Bhai gave me of him is, he does not go and pursue clients. He says, look, this is a solution. I'll give it to you. I'll come and meet you once, maybe twice. You don't want it, don't want it. I am not going to pursue. And that is a healthy attitude to take for any professional. You know, in any industry, I mean, here, of course, this is noble. It's not like any industry or something. It is important for professionals to send clearly the message that, look, if you don't want it, I'm not going to pursue this. I'm not after money alone. I think that's the nice thing I heard about Sunil Mysore. Suresh Bhai, thank you for letting me speak. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hari, for your very articulated speech and inspiring speech for all of us as usual in every meetings. So I will take around total, our meeting will be around 1 hour 15 minutes. By 7:15 or so, we will close. Mr. Sunil Mysore will take around 10 minutes for his presentation, maybe another 10 minutes for his successful user who used his technology. And now I will take around 2 or 3 minutes about the Niti Aayog report on water conservation. So good evening to all of you and good morning to those who are attending from US and Canada. And I'm going to take just 3 minutes of the report of Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog is the think tank of the government for policy formulation. In 2018, Niti Aayog came in with report. I am highlighting only the 3 points. The 3 points are: India is going to face acute water crisis, and by 2030, the demand will outstrip the supply. Number 2, 21 cities in India, they are going to go out of groundwater, and 100 million people will be affected because of this. Now 2020 is over, but it may happen, if not in 2020, maybe in 2025, thanks to good rains. Number 3, if the trend of no conservation of rainwater or the water conservation measures are not taken effectively by the government, it may impact the GDP by 2050 by around 6%. Now 6% affecting the GDP is a very big figure. Our total GDP as of 2021 is around 200 lakhs crores. 200 lakhs crores, 6% is around 12 lakhs crores. It's a very big amount, and no country in the world will allow even 0.5% reduction in the GDP, and they will take all the steps to ensure that GDP is improving or remains as it is. Now, that is why in the month of February, the National Jal Shakti Mission, the water mission of the central government, they started a campaign by the Prime Minister, Catch the Rain. Catch the rain when it falls, where it falls. And online, he contacted around 2,000 villages and to spread the message of water conservation. Now, this is so far as the Niti Aayog report is concerned. Now, let us go to the McKinsey report. The McKinsey report was talking more on urbanization, the problems related to rapid urbanization. McKinsey report said in 2008, around 340 million people lived in cities. And this is going to go up to 590 million. In other words, from 34 crores in 2008, it will go up to 59 crores by 2030. Now, that is not the end of it. It further stated, if the current infrastructure to continue, that is the current level of comforts to be given to the citizens, the government has to spend $1.1 trillion. Now, 1 trillion is equal to 1 lakh crores. So in other words, the government has to spend something like 8,26,000 crores, close to 8,25,000 crores by 2030 because of this rapid urbanization. There is a World Bank report also, which says in 2017, around 34% of the population lived in the cities. It is going to go up to around 40.73, that is 41%, which is in sync with the McKinsey report. If our population goes up to 150, the 40%, it comes to around 60 crores. Now, these are the impacts of urbanization and lack of focus on water conservation. Now, actually, we are doing a very good service to the national mission of water conservation. So water conservation is an important aspect. And coming to this Bangalore, so far as the Bangalore is concerned, the Bangalore is spread over around 800 square kilometers. It has got a population of around 13 million, and it is going to go up to around 20 million by 2030. The daily water demand is around 2 billion liters daily. That is 200 crore liters, whereas the supply by the municipal authorities or the government meets only 50%. So the balance is through the tanker lorries or through over-exploitation of groundwater. Now, this cannot go on forever. Now, the Bangalore, it had around 200 lakes in the year 1960. Today, we have only around 80 lakes, of which at least only around 10 to 15 lakes are really in good conditions. And balance all lakes are ecologically dead. Either they are full of sewage waters, treated or untreated. There is no effort to regenerate these lakes effectively by the government agencies. Now, 73% of the rainwater, if it is managed properly, it will meet the city's water demand 73%. That is the total demand of the citizens to the extent of 73% can be met out of this rainwater. Now, it is not ending. The CAG report, this is the report of the Comptroller and Auditor General. Now, Comptroller and Auditor General report said, most of the stormwater drain expenditure is going waste, because the stormwater drain expenditure, it is supposed to take care of the rainwater and channelizing the rainwater. But after 1 or 2 years, it becomes a sewage canal, because you take the Rajakalve in Bangalore, it is supposed to be channelizing the rainwater, which is not happening. And these are the flip points, that is the minus points of the government expenditure. Now, because there is enough rainfall in Bangalore, we get around 140 centimeters this year plus. Average is around 100 to 110 centimeters. If this rain is harvested properly or managed properly, the drinking water needs can be met. Now, whatever has to happen, good thing will happen. Our efforts to send this message, campaigning the message of water conservation, I am sure it will certainly help the citizens of this country to conserve the water. And we are making our sincere efforts during 2022 to take this campaign forward. I am sure all of our people will at least add at least 10 people in their group to send this message. And end of 2022, we will have more smiles so that our campaign is ended with a good note. Thank you. And I would now request Mr. Sunil Mysore to start. Before that, if there is any query, I would like to answer.
Suresh Bhai, if you don't mind, I'll make one small intervention to acknowledge the presence of some people here. BP Agarwal from Sustainable Innovations, a person who has been doing some distinguished work himself. He lives in the US. Good morning to you, BP. But he's been working in Jhunjhunwala area of Rajasthan, which is northeast of Rajasthan. We have Rick Bacon with us. Rick has also been doing some work in India. Rick, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Thanks to Mary, Rick Bacon came in. Thanks to Rick, we have BP with us. Then I must acknowledge the presence of course, of Raval ji, for instance. Munir Raval is from Surat. He has told me that he will not speak, but knowing him, he will send some very diligent observations at the end of this meeting. Thank you for being here, Raval. Then, of course, a few others are there. I think I will leave it to Mary, perhaps, to see if she wants to introduce one or two others. Thank you, Mary, for the small note on the millions and billions and the crores and the lakhs. India has a challenge. We talk about it. We talk all in terms of crores and lakhs. Mary, any quick word to acknowledge anybody's presence before we hand it over to Suresh Bhai again?
Yeah, you are so gracious in acknowledging everyone. I think, Hari, a new addition here is Lauren Enright, who's working on a study. We'll be talking with you, with Indrani, and brilliant climate consultant and addressing all the risks. And you guys are doing a super job with that. I just want to acknowledge how wonderful it is to have an accountant leading this rainwater harvesting and water saving initiatives. So Suresh, beautiful to hear all of your numbers. I hope we can capture those and continue to manage against those. That's all great to be here. And second year. So Usha, I just want to celebrate the good work you did standing this up and how everything's building on the momentum created in year one.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary, so much for that. And I wanted to, say that in the first year, if we built the foundation, the edifice is ready to take off and the movement is moving. So the role of mission director now has gone to Mr. Suresh Pai. He's been with us right from the first meeting. And, thank you, Suresh, for those wonderful opening statement of yours. Suresh comes from the finance domain, and all the figures that, he rattled off so easily, so effortlessly speaks for it. He's going to be leading this mission. And of course, all of us are there. The core members will continue. Welcome to each and every one of you. I'm so happy to see the number of people who are here today. We have a lot of students who have joined us. I will request Ganesh a little later, of course, in the meeting to be bring them, draw them all into this conversation. We have been talking to them, Ganesh. Those same students are here. Thank you all so much for joining in. Suresh, look forward to taking this movement in large strides, not this year, not just this year, but in the years to come. Over to you, Suresh, and then, of course, waiting to listen to Sunil Mysore.
Thank you, Usha.
Three other acknowledgements, Suresh Pai. One is, of course, Indrani of the Columbia University. She's going to help us with a lot of the research also with her students. She's here now. Good morning, Indrani. The second one is, of course, the CEO of the International Council for Clean Water, Mr. Nandakumar is here. Mr. Nandakumar, I'm going to later introduce you to both Rick Bacon and BP Agarwal. BP says, I want one or two people from IIT Madras. He specifically says from IIT Madras, in a way that a certain, he has a fangled vision. He has a certain vision. And he says, look, I will be the visionary. You be the person who will ask all the nasty questions. Let us see what we can do, says BP in a mail to me last night, I think. He's one person who does not sleep. He will write to you at any crazy hour of the day, like Mary. Maybe Mary also has 36 hours in a day. She does magic to produce more hours in a day. So I just thought I'd acknowledge the presence of these people also. Over to you now, Suresh.
Okay, thank you. So now I will request Mr. Sunil Mysore to make his presentation on rainwater harvesting. Mr. Sunil Mysore, I asked him to send his CV. He sent me 7 pages. So 7 pages CV is very difficult to explain. I will put it in simply. He is a civil engineer and he is an entrepreneur specializing in the field of rainwater harvesting and solar energy. And he has done so much for the environment, and all his work is equal to growing some mature trees to the extent of 1,15,000 trees. With these few words, I would request Mr. Sunil Mysore to make his presentation on rainwater harvesting. Over to Sunil.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Hope I am audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So thank you very much, sir, for the good introduction. So to start with, I am just a practitioner. And I'm sorry, I may not speak very, very fluently in English, but I will try my best because I am used to speaking Kannada more. But anyway, I'll put my best efforts to speak good English. Basically, I'm going to talk about my experiences with rainwater harvesting. I am neither saying it is correct or I am neither saying that's the best way. This is my practice and I have been evolving over the last 10 years or so. So from my designs have evolved and it keeps evolving. My next project will be definitely different from the previous project. Having said that, let me just take you through a generic presentation on rainwater harvesting and like how I am practicing it and why I think that is important. I'll skip a lot of academic data, but I will try to stick to the practice part of it. Is my screen visible?
No, not yet.
Not visible. Now?
It started, yeah. Maybe you should put it in presentation mode.
Okay, now? think it's full screen now.
Yes, yes, you're good.
Yes. So yeah, generally I talk about two concepts of rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting itself is from the supply side of the problem. What we generally miss out in most of the discussions or when I'm talking to people in communities is they generally forget about the conservation aspect of it. So it has the demand and supply has to go. So the supply management, rainwater harvesting comes in the supply management side of the things. What is equally important is how to conserve the harvested water. So, if you continue to spend the way we are spending, or if we don't make our systems more efficient, there's no point actually doing rainwater harvesting. If we continue to waste, we'll continue to waste the harvested rainwater. So the water conservation must go hand in hand. So the demand management must go hand in hand with the supply. This is what I actually try to tell people, because it's just not enough if you just do rainwater harvesting. So having said that, some broad numbers, I don't think I need to go in detail of all these things, why I feel and where I feel I'm coming from. See, we know all these numbers. These are all fairly clear and available in public domain. So if we actually translate our annual rainfall, snowfall data, we are entitled per person per day in India can get about 1,600 liters of water. This much water is actually available. It is purely academic numbers. Okay, so 135 is our domestic consumption. So all the rest of our 1,500 goes into the most of the other things, like our food, fuel, etc., etc. So we have got this kind of an endowment. See, if we are actually telling today that we have water crisis, we need to reflect back and say these are the numbers available. 1,500 liters are available. If we are still saying we have a water crisis, where we have gone wrong. So one can actually start from these numbers from our rainfall data of Bangalore, and we have 135 is just the domestic consumption. Okay, we have got far more than that. Of course, it goes into other processes, but we still have this kind of an endowment. So this is just to say how much we actually consume. A person vis-a-vis an animal, how much actually we consume in terms of water. And if we say everybody is equal, and how much more a human being actually consumes in relation to any other species living on this world. It is just for comparison's sake. I am not going to debate or discuss on this. This is what I'm just saying, you have got so much water and you are sharing with so many other species, and how much the humans are consuming vis-a-vis the other animals who are thriving with us, and how much we are actually, I don't know, I leave it to the forum to say how much justice we are doing to whom. Okay, so this is just for the understanding. I'm not going to get into the numbers and say, okay, what is what. Okay, so coming to the more important part and mostly discussed part of rainwater harvesting vis-a-vis the demand side of the thing. So this is what is given by the government of India, which says that we have to get 135 liters. Roughly, if you split that 135, this looks like this. So now 135 is what we consume out of what we actually endowment of 1,600 liters. So the rest of all 1,500 liters goes to so much more. And apart from rainwater harvesting, we need to become efficient in all other processes. Rainwater harvesting is only addressing a very small part of the problem. The greater part of the problem is we being inefficient in a lot of other things in terms of agriculture, in terms of textile production, and so on and so forth. But it's not the point of discussion in this topic. So I will leave it at this. This is just as a starting remark. So now coming to the cost of water, when we're actually saying cost of water, say BWSB, where I say in Bangalore, we are spending about 7 to 8 rupees per kiloliter at a starting price. But the true cost of water can vary anywhere between 50 to 100 rupees a kiloliter. Okay, and Suresh Pai sir can tell, in Yelahanka, if you have to buy a tanker of water, it's going to cost you upwards of 120 rupees per kiloliter of water. So if you say an individual consumes about 615 kiloliters of water per year, it roughly translates to this kind of a number. 46,000 rupees is what one person actually spending. So many people don't even earn so much money. Okay, so this is actually the true cost of water. See, if you are only paying about 500,000 rupees in a year, the rest of the things is cross-subsidized. The government is paying or cross-subsidized. So many people don't even earn this kind of money. So this is the actually the cost of money we are actually incurring to get the kiloliter of water into our house. This is the kind of money we are spending. So we have to reflect back and say where we are actually going wrong, and who is financing this, and if things go worse, how are we going to make this money? So this is just open for discussion. I'm not going to actually come and conclude anything here. This is where actually the basis of rainwater harvesting, from my perspective, actually comes from. So generally, as I said, I want to address this water challenge in two parts. Rainwater harvesting is the supply side of the problem. The bigger thing called the demand side of the problem. If we don't conserve the harvested water, there is no point in actually doing rainwater harvesting. So we have to become more efficient. And I would go one step more and say we have to consume less. If we consume the way we are consuming, I think in economics that's a conspicuous consumption. You may actually have to go from conspicuous to conscious consumption. Otherwise, there is no point in talking solar rainwater harvesting, because if we go and continue to consume and exploit the way we are doing, I really don't see a point in doing all the technological interventions. Because technological interventions only give you that kind of a satisfaction of actually doing something. But on the ground, reflections may be actually not so tangible. So coming back to the whole concept of decentralization, I think the previous speakers have touched about this, but I will try to put this into very, very, very conservative numbers. These are actually far more, but I'm putting it in a very practical way. So if you look at the area of Bangalore, 710 square kilometers, very conservatively, our rainfall surface is about our rainfall endowment is about 950 mm. So even if we take 50% of that is harvestable, we are talking about this kind of a number. So population of Bangalore is 120 crores. So if you divide that, if you take daily consumption and divide it by the endowment, about 208 days of Bangalore, extremely conservatively, is actually, this can go up to 365 or even more. But very practically, very conservatively, I am putting 50% of the city's demand can be met only by pure rainwater. You don't have to go beyond Kaveri or out to that the new one, which is actually they're flowing from Sakleshpura, the Ethinole. I think there's already talk about getting from Sharavati. I don't know when it's going to take shape. But unfortunately, the city planners are talking about rainfall in Coorg. Nobody's talking about rainfall in Bangalore, because they are more interested in how much rain falls in Madikeri so that we can take it here and let those people suffer. But we're not actually talking about the rainfall intensity in Bangalore. It's unfortunate, but hopefully it's going to change in the coming days. If I break it into the next step, if I just take a small house, see, this is where I am staying, 110 square meters is my house, 950 mm. Even I am conservatively putting the number as 0.85, so 15% loss. Still, I can meet 45%. This is very, very conservative. I have been using rainwater for the last 7-8 years. Easily, every year, I can meet 7 months of consumption by rainwater. This is only this 45%. I'm just putting it across so that it's more appreciable. Like, it's actually doable. Even if you take 40%, okay, it is still a very good number. So 40% of my monthly demand can come from rainwater. Okay, and I'm also putting my demand at a slightly higher rate. I will talk about it. The time permits how actually I'm also cutting down the consumption. So this, I don't want to go into like how one estimates the rainwater runoff and things like that. It's very, very technical aspect of it. So basically you have got the area, you got the runoff, multiply by the coefficient, you will get this number. So this is, when I'm talking about a small 200 meter square house, I will get about 150,000 liters of water just falling on my head without any T&D losses. I don't know why we are actually not tapping into this potential. Most of the discussions about urban water talks about many things like lakes and pumping it from so on and so forth. Unfortunately, not much is spoken about what falls on our head. So I will just try to play this video. This is the video of my house. Okay, this is how I am harvesting. All the numbers translate like this. This takes the catchment for my solar panels. The water which falls here goes through a filter and gets into the sun. Let's go and check out how the water is harvested. So the water which falls from the roof first comes into this first phase separator. This is the first phase separator. First milk of water is stored in this pipe. It gets drained into the well, and the water which brings into this sedimentation tank, this first separator goes to the sedimentation tank. It's also to separate out the first minutes of water. All the dirt basically settles in this tank. The water in this tank can be used for non-potable use like car wash or gardening. The water which overflows from this sedimentation tank gets into this filter. This is a 2-chamber filter. The water first gets in here. You can see the water coming here. This is the water which is overflowing from the sedimentation tank. the water gets down from this tank. This has aggregates, silex and activated carbon. The water goes down like this, and from bottom again builds up. So it's called an upflow filter. The water comes up in this chamber, gets into this second chamber. You can see here inside. Again, this has got silex and activated carbon. The water upflows from here and gets into this pipe. This goes into our storage tank. You can see this is the rainwater being harvested, getting right into our underground sump. In case the water overflows from this sump, we have got a recharge well here. In case the water overflows from the tank, that goes into this recharge well and augments the groundwater. We can also open the first rain separator. That the first rain water also gets into this well. I'll just show it now. Now the rains have stopped. This is the filter, so water is standing here. Now we can come to this side. So this is a valve. This is given to sample the water. See, if I open this valve, I can collect the water for sampling. So this is the filtered water, the rainwater filtered water. I can collect the water from this valve and send the water for testing. So this is the water collected from the rainwater filter. So now you can see there is this water standing here. So this is an upflow filter. There is some water standing here. And we will show another valve here. This is another valve on this side. So here, this valve, if we open this valve, it's going to backwash the filter. So after every rain, this can be opened, and the water standing in the filter will automatically backwash all the filter media, and the water will go out. This water we can use for floor swabbing or for cleaning or any other non-potable use. You can come here and see this is the water standing here. Now I will open the valve. You can observe what happens. Okay, now I have opened the valve. So this is the water getting backwashed. You can come here and have a look. So this is basically what I have done in my house. More or less I repeat the same thing in many other projects, but for some few subtle changes here and there. So the other question comes like, what is to be done with the harvested water? Should we actually store or should we recharge? What is more beneficial? It depends on site conditions. Because of paucity of time, I'm not going to details of when to harvest and when to store. In my opinion, I am again repeating, I am neither saying this is correct or this is the best way. This is what I have been practicing. I am sure I will improve and perhaps I will do better systems in times to come. But this is what I have been practicing so far. So this is a typical recharge structure, surface recharge structure, which I did some few years back. These are many ways in which you can do groundwater recharge. There are many ways other than just by water. You can do many other ways of actually doing recharge water. But I will try to point out to this. I think there was another speaker or there's one more participant which said shallow aquifer there. It's actually a very catchy word. But another thing, like how we have ignored rooftops, we have also ignored shallow aquifer. So shallow aquifer is something which we need to study in more detail and see how actually we can revive those, because shallow aquifers are like more or less chemical contamination free water, and which is perhaps at a very, very cheaper cost. So if you look at the general geology of Bangalore, they are mostly tapping into all the borewells goes here into the confined aquifer where it's under pressure. Maybe it may have little lower bacteriological contamination, but the recharge points are very, very far. So we are actually tapping somewhere here and recharging somewhere here, and they are spending a lot of money to actually extract this water. What we are actually missing out is the shallow aquifer. I have shared some videos on the chat box where I have actually explained the dynamics of this unconfined aquifer, the shallow aquifer, and how it is economically much more beneficial and how one can actually explore this unconfined aquifer at a very lower cost. I will not go into details of all that because we don't have time. I have shared 2 extensive videos. If anybody has the time, kindly go through and give me your comments, because as I'm telling you, this is what I am thinking. I may not be right. Okay. So these are few of the recharge structures that have been done. mostly all recharge structures can be classified into infiltration well and a recharge well. Essentially, I talk more of the recharge wells, which are like very shallow in nature. So basically, it is just a cavity in the earth, so that the water just get into that and percolates both longitudinally and laterally and augment the shallow aquifer, which is under atmospheric pressure. So, one can actually see the water level going up and down. Actually, I have had many cases where we have actually done these wells, consistently recharged for 2-3 years, and we have actually had the water coming back. Okay, when if at all we have got time and we have some other time, I'll explain to each and every case. Each of them actually is a very classic case. So these are all typical ways in which recharge structures are done. And that is kind of thing which I am practicing. There is no electricity, there is no pumping. The water just goes into a pure cavity in the earth. That's all. So these are some of the structures. These are the perforations. These are the rings which are actually done to hold the soil. One of the work under progress. This is the completed structure. This is one can do more beautifully. This is actually water coming out from the well. Now, in the process of doing the well, the water actually is coming back. So this is actually a source of water. So again, this is a source of water. Source of water. These are all at anywhere between 15, 20, 30 feet depth. Source of water. Source of water. These are all, maybe chemically it may have something, but bacteriologically, it may have some bacteriological contamination, but generally free from any chemical contamination. So these are some of the filtrations that you have, a silt trap and things like that. This is again a silt trap before the water gets into the recharge structure. These are extensive recharge structures done in an open area. One more recharge structure. So quickly I will go through this thing because I am giving 10 minutes and already exceeded that. But if you look at a general way in which you can take the water from the recharge well. Suppose we have a suction head of 20 feet and discharge head of 20 feet. And we use a 0.5 HP pump and it consumes about 0.38 kilowatt and run for an hour. Our cost of electricity is 1.9 rupees for 1,500 liters. So it's about again, extremely conservative. It's all much lower than this. So we are actually getting cost of water. One can go through this calculation. I'm not going to go in depth, but if you go through this calculation, you are getting water from the shallow depth at roughly about 2 rupees. Even you say 4 rupees, say even 5 rupees. It is far cheaper than both the municipal water and the tanker water. Most of the Bangalore, at least 20-30% of Bangalore is dependent on tanker water, where we are talking about 150 rupees per kiloliter. Compare that with 2 rupees. Okay, just by small recharge, and even if you don't recharge, in many areas of South Bangalore, you'll actually get water here. We're just not exploiting it. And this is the best possible source and at the cheapest possible price. And it requires a little bit more study and exploration. I think this can become a good source of water for the city of Bangalore. So I have shared in the chat box some videos where actually I've gone in detail and actually explained how this thing works and what is the economics. If I feel interesting, kindly go through that video and let me know if I made any errors there. So compare that with our cost of water. Our domestic cost starts at 7 rupees. I'm talking about 2 rupees here. It starts at 7. Even domestic about 25,000 goes to 26. This is 13 times cheaper. And I'm talking only about domestic. Think about industrial. Think about higher consumption. Think about tanker water. And moreover, think about the wear and tear of the borewell. And think about all the nonsense that the borewell is actually creating in the world. Like, so much noise, so much of problems. And in many places, we have actually had to break walls to actually get the rigs inside. So it's high time that, we think about something which is alternate to borewells. Okay, I've just given you as a comparison. This is the shallow aquifer water. And this is our, actually the water we pay. This is the municipal water bill of Bangalore. So we can compare the costs. Unfortunately, sometimes we end up doing this to the recharge wells, but this is not something what we should be doing. That's the whole idea of showing this picture. So I will not go into all these things. These are all more academic I do for this engineering college student presentations. So basically we have to, what we have to do as the next step is what I've discussed here. So I am not going to get into details of all this. So this is more of energy water nexus and how this collected water is related to energy. I'm not going to go into any of these. So that's about my presentation. So any questions, I will be more than happy to try to answer. I will not guarantee that I'll be able to answer all the questions, but whatever little I know, I will definitely try to answer. My friend Alok sir is here. I have done rainwater harvesting in his apartment. They're very close to my house in JP Nagar. He's also joined this call. So if Suresh Pai sir permits, he can just talk for 5 minutes regarding their experiences with rainwater harvesting. So I end my talk here. Any questions, I am open to trying to answer them. Yeah, I'm done with my presentation.
Any questions you can ask Mr. Sunil?
I'm Satish Malia here. I think in the presentation we are shown as 2 rupees per liter. It is, I think, kiloliter.
Oh yeah, sorry, sir. Yeah, is it? I think yeah, it's kiloliter.
That is what is mentioned in the chat box. They have corrected it.
Oh, okay, fine. Sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ganesh here. I have a question, Sunil sir. First of all, namaskara. Thanks a lot for a nice presentation.
Thank you.
You mentioned about this shallow aquifers, right? So, any particular reason why these are not being used in Bangalore? Like, I mean, rest everything we have exploited, but why are these builders not using this, right? And any particular reason?
Frankly, I don't know, sir. Okay, because see, even when I went to the site where they were actually doing this majestic, they were doing this underground metro station. I was told 30 HP pumps are running 24/7 for about 80 or 90 days, throwing out the water which they got. Okay, so 30 HP into 24 into 90 days, or rather 19 to 24. That was the amount of water which was actually pumped out. So I don't know. See, maybe one of the reasons is like, you're not sure. See, you are more or less sure when you're actually drilling borewell. At least it was the case, say 5 or 6 years back. People were more or less sure that you're going to get water. But shallow aquifer, people don't really know. And say the success rate of hitting the water at the first go, I would put it at less than 40%. Okay, so the water will come back into that aquifer once you actually saturate the zone around it. So since there is a lower chance of hitting the water when you're actually doing it, see, we always want quick results, right? We want Amazon delivery to be done today. So that is the problem, while we are not talking about this. See, rainwater harvesting, one is, of course, you are storing. If you actually recharge and consistently recharge, there is a good possibility, rather a very good possibility that you will get the water back once the shallow aquifer zones are saturated, because the zone of influence is far lower than the deeper aquifer. So one has to have a little bit of patience. But if you look at areas like Indranagar, or if you look at the area like Malleshwaram, large extents of JP Nagar, you are getting water anywhere between 15 to 20 feet water is available. I have tested a few waters. It's not all of them are not potable, but definitely all of them are usable for irrigation quality. Okay. But as I told, this needs a little bit of more exploration and some more study. See, this is like people need to actually, some very, very scientific study has to come out on how we can map the shallow aquifer and how we can actually make this as a movement for people to actually adopt this as a source of water. Okay, because the cost is very less if you actually look at the shallow aquifer. But one of the reasons like builders are not interested is they're not interested because their business is not selling water. They have to do the structure and go. Why will they be bothered about water or deep aquifer or shallow aquifer? Most of the builders leave because the borewell will give them water for construction. After that is your headache. You do whatever you want for your water. See, they are not interested.
Right, I agree with you.
Can I just add one point, Ganesh?
Yes, sir. Neil, sir, go ahead.
Yeah. So one reason I felt people are so like feeling bad about is because of the secretly many people do toilet pits like during construction and those times. And earlier days they used to do, but earlier days it never used to be this extensive. So that is a big concern for the people. So they think there may be percolation from those pits, but actually the borewell water is much more poisonous in reality. That's all.
If I may, make an observation, this is straight from Dr. Shekhar Raghavan, who we heard a few days ago. The problem in Chennai, the flooding that happened was because the shallow aquifer was not used by the people, and they are continuing to draw water from the deeper aquifer. The reason for that is the bore wells are all okay, and they don't allow water from the shallow aquifer to come. And when we are actually building, the water level is much lower, and therefore the bore well is made at that depth. And in between the shallow and the deep aquifer, there is an impermeable layer. Therefore, the shallow aquifer is never reached by the bore wells. So 2 suggestions he gave. One is have more open wells. Open wells will have through and through water. So both the aquifers will get mixed. And he said if you can make some kind of perforation or holes in the existing bore well, then you're allowing the water to mix. Even if the water mixes, the denser water which is higher salinity will stay down. But you may have to adjust the suction of your pump to take out the clean water up. This is something which could be looked at.
To add to what Mr. Nandakumar said, one of the things that we heard and learned from the WOW Chennai program 3-4 days ago, to you also, Sunil, because you're working at the shallow aquifer level, and your recommendation is right that we need to research this a little more. For instance, in Malleshwaram area, which is north of Bangalore, post the monsoon, nitrate levels for 3 or 4 months is extremely high, we are told, in another WOW session with one of the WOW members called Vikas, who was here. So how do we understand what rainwater, how rainwater is impacted when it hits the earth is another thing that we need to look at, because more than 70% of it would be at the surface water management and not at the terrace itself. But to go to that question that Rick Bacon has asked in the chat box, if it falls on my terrace and you have harvested the rain, are there any hygiene needs of disinfection, etc.? It's one simple question that he's asking. Maybe you want to respond to that. But to go back to
I'll answer this question.
You'll come back.
My favorite question, actually.
Let me reiterate what, extend on what Mr. Nandakumar said. Very useful thing. If, let us say, on that same 750 or 800 square kilometers, if Bangalore decided that it will have, let us say, for every let's say, hectare, it had only, let us say, about 100 bore wells, dug wells. If you planned for, say, 1 crore dug wells across the city, this is what Chennai is saying. And in fact, I can share that with these members here who are also present. We must plan for something at the shallow aquifer level while we do whatever you're doing at rainwater harvest levels. I'll stop there.
Yeah, so there was a question about quality of water, what needs to be done, or is it safe? And actually one of my favorite questions is this question I get from many people. The video which you saw is my house. Okay, on my house, I have got solar panels, and about 400 plants. Okay, and that water which falls through the solar, all the 400 plants actually goes through the same rainwater harvesting system. And we don't have any RO or anything like that. We collect that water, we put it through a normal UV filter and we consume it. Okay, absolutely no problem in the quality of water.
So one question, in the interest of all the people who are listening here, I will phrase the question first as a statement. Yeah. Neil Matthews, who is here, has been sending to us every month for 4 months now in succession a water bill that he receives which says 0 rupees paid. Where, in places where you have installed such RWS systems, how many months do they pay 0 rupees for their water?
Well, I don't think people are paying 0 rupees, including my house. Very few months, 1 or 2 months, I think I pay 0 rupees.
Neil Matthews, can you respond, please, by telling us all how many months you have not paid so far?
I think more than 5 months.
4 months from what I recall.
5 months. 5 months.
Can you then therefore, see, Sunil is saying that, well, it's not possible that you can do without paying any money. How do you rebut that statement?
Yeah, basically I have a, about 45,000 liter tank. And what I do is that when heavy rains are there, the open well in my plot will flood. During that time, I pump also so that my 45,000 liter is filled all the time with any rain. So it's a mix of rooftop harvesting as well as a kind of flood harvesting.
Sunil, over to you.
Oh, that's great, sir. That's awesome. See, basically you've got a shallow aquifer from which also you're actually taking water. So that gets filled
whenever there is heavy rain, that gets super filled. It comes up to the brink. So I found about 4 feet of water and like whatever delta to be filled in the tank, I will just fill it.
Very good, sir. Very good.
It's not, can I intervene? It's not like that. See, I have a borewell, I have rainwater harvesting. When I asked this to the water board, they said we have our standard establishment charges. There is no zero charges. We have to pay salaries. We have laid down already pipelines. We have, water meter readers. We have people who open the taps, so they said nothing doing. There is no zero charge.
Neil Matthews, can you possibly share on the chat box as a visual your last 3-4
months? I want to respond to that, sir.
Yes.
Basically, Prasad, sir, you are right. The SC charges and the sewage charges are majorly for the apartments, but Neil stays in an independent house and it's a separate layout. It is not built by BWSSB directly.
So that's okay. Yeah, that's right.
Charges. And I have seen the bills which were given by Neil, so they are zero. But you are right when it comes to BWSSB. See, in fact, I had shared another bill of my own house where when the consumption was zero, they said less consumption and they put a penalty in Hubballi Dharwad area. And doctor is aware of this and he had brought this to Suresh Itnal, who was the commissioner of Hubballi Dharwad at that particular point in time. So all these gimmicks happen in the government.
Even if I don't use water, they charge me 250 rupees.
So being anywhere a participant of a community, we need to pay some amount for that community's maintenance. Okay, so they indirectly connect that with the water. There is a fixed charge of 50 rupees for the meter reading and meter rent, all those things. Anyway, basically what Hari mentioned is that I pay 0 rupees for the water per se. Okay, for the facility and being a member of that community, all those things, some 170 rupees or something is paid.
Yeah, I would like to come to a very interesting story about rainwater harvesting. Since the last 7 years in Bangalore, how many of you are aware of it? The last 7 years, it is compulsory that you should have rainwater harvesting. Otherwise, people are paying penalty every month and they don't mind it. Everybody is paying. You just check your bills. Until unless you have not shown your rainwater harvesting, it will penalize you.
Prasad, even more important or startling is the story that our Vijay Sisodiya will tell you that in just 1 month of February 2020, last year, 2021, in just 1 month between BWSSB and the PCB, the Pollution Control Board, they collected 15 crore rupees. That's roughly $2.5 million, right?
Yeah, let me complete it. See, Gaurav Gupta was the...
People are willing to pay penalties. They don't want to invest
Gaurav Gupta was the chairman. This is where WOW has to come into picture now. Gaurav Gupta, the then chairman of BWSSB, was one of the chief guests of our Indian Plumbing Association conference in Bangalore at Palace Garden. He said, we cannot enforce this. Will IPA help us?
Sure. We'll work on it. You mentioned this last time.
So now this is the right time. We have, see, with the IPA, WOW and Rotary, we can divide the responsibility and take up this beautiful project in Bangalore and see the
our suggestion is, instead of penalizing for not doing the rainwater harvesting, please give incentive of 5% of your property tax. If you give the incentive, I think there will be compliance will be more than what it is today.
Sir,
today the compliance on rainwater harvesting is less than 7%. Less than 5%.
Incentives won't work. See, finally,
already
people have to be told that they get the... I mean, Neil Matthews is telling us... Yeah, sorry, go on.
Already 30% don't pay property tax, sir. That's another big problem.
That's the bigger incentive. I think we all should pause over here and we should listen to the actual story by Mr. Alok. Sir, over to you. The stage is all yours. We are all eagerly waiting to listen to your success story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alok, sir, you should unmute and speak, please.
Yeah.
While
Sunil, you can possibly respond to some of the questions on the chat box by responding in writing while we listen to Alok. Yeah.
Hello, are you guys able to hear?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Yes. Okay. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my views. Actually, I'm also like enthusiastic from last 10 years. To how we can save the water, how we can utilize maximum amount of water, how we can reduce the wastage of the water, all those things. We were doing the research from last many years actually. And before installing the rainwater harvesting with Sunil sir, we did a lot of research. I went to the BWSSP park and I have seen how rainwater harvesting is done. And I have gone through the Rajasthan, from Bangalore to Rajasthan, Udaipur, the Lake City, and I have seen that fort wherein rainwater harvesting is done, and thousands of soldiers were utilizing that water actually, that rainwater actually. So I've seen those wells, all those pits, and all those things, and the ancient time how we were storing the water, how we were utilizing for the many months actually. So then I came back and did a lot more research after meeting Sunil sir. He shared all the details with the calculation in the scientific way, how the rainwater harvesting will be done, and how we are going to go with the recharge well, recharge bore well, and the recharge pit, and all those things. So we thought of going with this one, and 3 years before we got it done. Okay, and whatever amount we spent that time, the society was not able to give us because we have to pay, right, on the spot, everything. So myself, at that time, and we got it done actually. The big challenge to get the water harvesting done, the purity of water we have to maintain. We need our roof neat and clean. So for that, because of dishes, because of many internet connections, many wires were there actually on the roof. And to clear it out, it was like a very big effort, because there were almost 7-8 vendors with whom we started talking about to segregating the wires, putting in the side, putting in the pipelines, so that we can start our rainwater harvesting, because it was spread all over the roof. That is the big problem, because many apartments in Bangalore are not able to go for the rainwater harvesting because they are not able to clean their rooftops actually. So what we have done, we discussed with ACT, we discussed with Airtel, discussed with many actually, and all Tata Sky. Instead of individual dishes for each individual houses, we started the bigger dishes wherein it can go the connection from the pipelines. So our rooftop was it was totally messed up, 80% when Sunil sir came in the first time, and we promised him after give us 6 months of time, we'll clean our rooftop. After 6 months, it was 90% clean. You can play over the rooftop. You can run over, and it was completely free, because all the wirings we got it done on the side of the walls actually. So it was completely free and completely clean roof. Now we started the rainwater harvesting with the help of Sunil sir, and it was done properly. We started gathering the water. We tested the water. The water which we were getting from the borewell, the tested water was 300 actually. The hardness was 300. And what water we got from the rainwater harvesting after cleaning everything, it was 100. After the filter, right? The hardness was 100. So we were surprised. The borewell water is 300, but the rainwater which we are getting is hardness is 100. That's very good actually. So that is one thing. Another thing is, before 5 years before, we started installing the aerators, reducing the water uses, how we can stop the leakages and all those things we fixed. Because the flush, once you press the flush, if there's issue with the flush, it's stuck there, and continuous overnight water flows actually. That kind of situation happens when apartments is 7 years old, 8 years old. So those kind of issues we fixed. We went to each house with the plumber. We checked each flush and we fixed that, because the wastage of water we have to stop. So that is one thing we stopped. Aerators we install in all the houses, all the taps, so that wherever in kitchen this much water is needed, this much should be utilized. And in sink, wash basin, how much water should be utilized. So those aerators we installed in all the houses actually. It's not big apartment, it's a 61 family apartment, but yeah, to convincing each and every family members, it's a big task actually. We went to each and every flat, spent almost 30 minutes with each family, convincing them, making them understand what is the importance of these all aspects actually. And we prepared with the help of Sunil, we prepared very good presentation and given to all the families So, sorry to say, but I couldn't prepare the presentation because it's very short span of time. Sunil told me the last moment, so I couldn't prepare the presentation and I cannot represent. But yeah, surely I promise when next time I will be available here, I'll definitely try to explain the things in the presentation. One more thing, I started participating in the few meetings actually. Meetings and I good meeting happening. So we went there, one meeting. So there was a discussion going on how we can, in the new apartments when they are constructing, right? How we can save the water. So one suggestion I gave, like the water filters, the UV filters. When it filters, no, half of the amount is getting waste. It goes out. So if we have a common filter at the rooftop, which gives the water to each flat, and it can be utilized, right? That water can be utilized to some other place. It can be utilized in the flash itself. So that is implemented in the Godrej Properties in Equa. If you remember that airport road, no? Godrej Properties came and that they taken that suggestion and they implemented over there, and they're saving a lot of water because of that filter actually. Also, the STP, right? The water comes from there and we are utilizing for the gardening area. And on the again, I'm coming back to the rainwater harvesting. Whatever amount we get, if it is our sump is full, we have connected one pipe to our nearby lake. So whatever overflows, no, it goes to that lake. So this is what we are not wasting single drop of water. It goes to some or the other place and utilize it. And it's really good that I'm really happy to like meeting all of you.
Yeah,
because
thank you, Alok. I have a question for you, Alok. One is how difficult was it to convince all your other flat owners, the other 60 families? How difficult was it? Very quickly, please. How much time did it take?
Yeah, it was like our tenure was 1 year. So 6 months, first 6 months it took to convince everybody.
So what was the game changer? What was that one? Okay, Alok, what was that one single thing that made them say, yes, I will take it, sir? What was that? Any game-changing position that you took?
Yeah. So it was like a few group of people, you know, right, in the apartment. They were against me and they were not satisfied that it is not going to happen. So they gave me a challenge that it is not going to happen. That is not possible actually. So that I took as a challenge. No, I will show that it is going to happen. And 2 years, we got all the amount, whatever amount we spent, right? That amount, we got it back because we were utilizing the tanker for the water. If you add 2 years of amount, it was equivalent to amount how much we
fair. What made you go to Sunil Mysore?
Okay. So before Sunil Mysore, we had discussed with almost 4 to 5 vendors. But Sunil explained each and everything like capillary, how it is going to work, and that recharge well, how it is going to work. With all the presentation, 15-page proposal he had given me. And in that, he had explained about my apartment, how we are going to do the rainwater harvesting, and how much output, how we are going to get the water back actually.
How many times did you invite Sunil to make presentations? Yeah. Did he give up on you?
No. So it's like the first time we met and he explained so many things. He came with all the tools to measure the terrace, to measure the things. And he gave me all the details at that time. We discussed with the association. We came up with the questions. So second time we called the Sunil and on time he came and he explained everything again, answered each and every question to us. And we all were convinced to go ahead. And that's why we were lucky that we were having Sunil, and we holded the amount with him for a few months, and we paid from our pocket, and then later we collected from all the members.
Before others ask questions, Sunil, I want you to respond by telling us, for every one apartment of an Alok Shukla, how many of them don't come to you after your second or third presentation? And you say, thank you so much, I'm not interested.
No, well, nobody will categorically tell, so thank you so much, I'm not interested. But most people don't come back.
And what do you do therefore? How many times do you try before you?
No, I don't do anything. I don't know. I give, see, my job is I give the details, I give the what best I know, I will tell them. And this is what you can do. And this is what it's going to cost me. See, I run it like a business. Like, for me, it is my bread and butter. Okay. So whatever, see, I am an engineer by training. So I would not like to cut corners here and there. So I will say, this is what is going to happen. This is what is going to cost you.
Fair. How many buildings have you done in, say, 2020 and 2021?
Oh, 2020, 2021, don't even ask. I don't think we are done. Maybe about each year, maybe about 15 or 18. So I think most of them, see, good times were between 2012 to 2018, where we were clocking around roughly, you would say, about 30 apartments per year.
So you're approximately done 250 apartments.
Yeah, easily.
How many office buildings would you have done, Sunil?
Office not much, sir. Maybe about 20 and about 25 industries.
Okay. So
Can I make a comment, Hari?
Yes, Raj. Good morning to you. Raj Rajaram is from Chicago again, and he's one of our. Yeah, go on. Yes.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Hari, for letting me speak for a couple of minutes. What I am hearing is just totally music to my ears. That too, music by M.S. Subbalakshmi or something like that. Because this is what we have to do: persistence, patience, and a community spirit. This is nothing, this is not rocket science. This is God-given water, which is directly evaporated from our oceans, comes as rain. There's no impurities in that, no minerals, nothing. So if we capture it, now even if our rain is our roof is a little bit dirty, I've seen cheesecloth filters that take out some of the particles that might be trapped because of the dirty roof. And you can do it. You don't have to go through UV filtration and all that. There's no pathogens here for UV filtration. So let's simplify it. Let's be persistent. I love Alok's story of being persistent with the homeowners. I did that with my homeowners here, 200 families in my subdivision. For a simple improvement to the entrance monuments, I had to go personally knock on doors and convince them. Some people said, I never even saw the notice that you want some additional money to do this. I said, here is the form. I'll take 5 minutes, explain to you, please sign here. Because without your signature here, we can't go ahead with this project and spend the common money that we have. So these are the things that are required. And unless citizen participation increases with WOW's efforts and more people are ethical, saying that this is my duty. I cannot waste water. I cannot get tankers here to come deliver water. They are polluting my air. And while the tankers come, they are leaking some water. This is totally unacceptable way of doing things. I am going to take personal responsibility to make sure these tankers go out of business and we all do rainwater harvesting. We all do water saving devices. These are simple things we can do. So I'm glad this kind of conversation is going on. People like Sunil who are so persistent, who are so patient to work with homeowners to do it. And this is the key for our salvation. Thank you.
Niranjan Khatri, after struggling for 4 or 5 years with your apartments people in Yelahanka, with 440 flats that you have in your neighborhood, you are telling me last week that they have finally decided to agree with you and implement those water solutions. In the next 2 minutes, can you tell us what your story is and what are they doing today? Niranjan.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I've been staying in this complex for the last 7 years. And when I came here, I suggested these things of rainwater harvesting and solar. But when you're new in a community, you're taken with a pinch of salt. But then about 2.5 years back, I got the opportunity to get into the management committee. And the first thing I did was that I want to do a water audit. And as most of you know, I'm not an engineer, but I need not be an engineer. I just took a walk around the place and checked that they had rainwater harvesting pit. But I was very curious to see what's under the cover of the rainwater harvesting pit. And I was horrified to see that the pits were not desilted for nearly 20 years. So the first thing that we did was to desil these about 19 pits And then we have the potential of harvesting 7 million liters of water, which we did last year because the work was done year before last. And thereafter, a decision was taken. I'm no more in the committee, but the committee realized that this subject is very important and it's for our long-term comfort in the complex. So now the desilting of the 60 feet deep well is taking place. It's work in progress. And some buildings, rainwater harvesting was not done. So that water is going to be used to recharge that. And once this well is absolutely clean, that water will be reused for our daily use for some secondary needs. So that is work in progress. There's much more to be done, but once the work is done, maybe again, I'll talk later on. Thank you, Hari.
So thank you. Sanjay Gupta, you are going to soon make Hyderabad a WOW partner city. You heard in the Chennai mission, and now you're hearing in Bangalore also, that they're clearly wanting to see how they will take to rainwater in a very big way, because like our Sunil Mysore also iterated today, like others said, today you heard our Mr. Nandakumar reminding us of what some of the other stalwarts in Chennai said. What are your plans, Sanjay Gupta? What do you want to do in Hyderabad after listening to such leaders? Sanjay? I shouldn't have asked the question before first, confirming he's there. He's there, but he's not there. Well, Indrani, do you want to say something at this point in time? Because here we have heard our Alok talking to, and of course, Sunil talking to us about how we should have a good, well-researched mapping of shallow aquifers. Again, in Chennai, we heard the same. Go on. Indrani?
Yeah, sure. I have been having a lot of back and forth with Ganesh offline, and I'm taking down on notes, and I'm so much overwhelmed by the good amount of data, the providers and living lab and all that. So let me digest all of it. And all I can say that, Hari, so like Alok, for example, we have heard David before, we have heard other citizens. We really need a network of all these early, inspired individuals to inspire other newer adopters, who would be the change themselves and would be able to convince their neighbors, those tips that you were asking, right? Like, what made you choosing Sunil? What really worked? What really clicked? So these tips would be essential for the newer adopters in the future. So I was just having a lot of back and forth with Ganesha, noting down on all this. So fantastic work. Thank you, Hari. That was my 2 cents, but I will keep on thinking.
Doctor, I would like to come in. Yeah, I mean, we were chatting actually, me and Indrani were chatting for a long time now. So she has given us some good amount of action points, like what she could pick up from this particular conversation over here and the research background, whatever she comes in. Possibly I have taken a note of them, and we will actually get it. I mean, a few of us who are in the core, we will get to that and we will see how to take it forward.
Sure. To the newcomers, I must tell you that Ganesh Shanbag and one of the students of Professor Indrani at the Columbia University in the US are working together on a paper to understand how data of the kind that Alok Shukla spoke about can connect into advancing solutions. And the person catalyzing all this is Mary Eggert of Global Waterworks. Mary, do you want to say something at this juncture?
No, I'm just so thrilled that everyone else is doing the work.
Okay.
So, but I do want to just add one thing. I'm going to we're very active with the Smart Water Networks Forum, which wants a bigger presence in India. And they have been focused on the traditional water and wastewater and, treatment and then discharge, but we need to show them that there's this additional water resource. And so I love what Indrani and Ganesh are doing to measure and quantify ways to augment existing water resources, because all of California needs to do this, as Raj says. Yes. So you guys are leading the way out. Thank you.
Suresh Prakash, for those of the people who you invited to be present here today, after listening to all these inspiring people, is there anything that you want to share as a message for those invitees of yours today? Suresh Prakash. Again, he's not there. He's there, he's not there. Sanjay Gupta, are you back? Anyway.
Yeah, hi. Hi,
There you are.
I'm there. I was trying to unmute myself.
Unmute yourself. Okay, go on,
yeah,
Suresh Prakash. Yes,
welcome everybody. And it's I think the final stage of the meeting. Yeah, I saw a good number of people who joined in from the people whom I invited. And the agenda for these 11 sets of apartments in our road primarily focus on how to reduce the wastage of water and do the rainwater harvesting. Some apartments do already have it, but then I think they have not been using it to the fullest extent. The idea is meet each RWA one by one and try to focus and see what best we can do to save water. I see at least 10 people who had come from different apartments. And I'm sure that they will join hands together as volunteers.
Do you see them on the participants list? Do you want to invite any of them to speak? Do you want to, anyone?
Is Mukund there?
Mukund, yes, I saw him.
Mukund, can you speak? Or
yes, sir. Very good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Mukund Murthy.
No, sir.
No, he's not there.
This is Mukund Kaushik. He's a young student from,
No, Mukund Murthy is not there. Okay, then I see, just one second, let me...
Sorry, Mukund Kaushik, we'll come back to you. Yeah.
We'll come back to you.
Anybody else you have? Running
yes, I'm having a look. There are common names. That's the problem is people have put the first names, you know.
No.
Maybe till... Yeah.
I'm Dr. Dhamija. I would like to, I've raised a point regarding training and skilling. See, if we want to have our rainwater harvesting on a large scale, we need a trained workforce. I am from the skilling division. So this has not featured. I had put it to Mr. Khatri also. My link is Mr. Niranjan Khatri, who was a part of the Skill Council for Green Jobs.
Right.
So I want to raise this question that while you are doing so much on
are you also from the Christian's office?
Yes.
You are.
Yes.
Christian is an old friend of mine also.
Yeah.
Of course, Niranjan knows him. Now,
I'm basically from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. I retired from there. And then
I'll put it like this to you. We have today here, there is a man called Vijay Sisodiya. I don't know if he's still here. I saw him here.
I'm here, sir.
Thank you. You're there. Vijay, can you respond to her and say, you have trained about 270 such people, right?
Those are the dealers, sir. But as far as the plumbers and...
I'm talking of technical trainings.
Go on.
Plumbers and this one are concerned throughout India from last year because we have tried up with Ultratech.
What will be your response to her now on skilling? On
because there are a lot of people who are interested. So we can surely take it up in a very big way.
Yeah, you can associate with our council because we had developed some training modules on urban rainwater harvesting, harvesting buildings and all that. And Mr. Khatri was very much a part of it. So, I think...
See, if you think you want to be enabled, WOW is a platform, as everybody is telling you. We are willing to see what we can do to catalyze this for you. Niranjan, he knows how to reach me and we can do whatever. Between people like Vijay Sisodiya and Ganesh Shanbag, for instance, of course, Sunil, who is presenting today, you saw the numbers and the maths that he is talking about right off his head. I can tell you Vijay is as good at it. Vijay has been doing for 15 years. Vijay has done several hundreds of thousands of such buildings again, like Sunil, right? So my point is that all of this is possible. But what happens, and that is why we don't do webinars here. We do only discussions like this, where at the end of it, leaders like you have to pursue the conversation, bring it to closure with action. If you are willing to do that, we will go all out to support you.
Okay. I will connect more and I will try this for the next time. I will try. And I will try to come out and bring a perspective what we want to do and how we want to do with WOW.
Right. Specifically bring it up. Niranjan is, of course, Niranjan, do you want to add anything before we stop this?
Mr. Khatri,
what we be saying?
In the interest of time, I'm not going to go too much into it. We'll do it offline.
Not a problem. Thank you. BP Agarwal, do you want to speak? You have heard all these people. I know you want to work on the countryside. You want to see, you have some dreams for India. You are 78. You are sitting in the US, but you want to try and see what you can do here. Any words from you since you are here and listening to all these people? BP Agarwal.
I would love to just want to share my enthusiasm and my vision. I started working on rainwater harvesting in 2003. And it was a simple incident from childhood. I used to fetch water from the local well to my house. One day, an elderly lady asked me to pull a few buckets of water for her. Being a teenager, I pretended not to listen to her plea. I shrugged my shoulders, bowed my eyes, and ignored her. My mother sighed, and she asked me, "Come here." And my defenses were ready. She's going to lecture me. And so she asked me, "Do you know what is the difference between an stray animal and a human being?" I again ignored. Then she continued, "Every stray animal fills her own tummy. Human being is one who fills someone else's tummy." That overtook me. For the last 20 years, I have been working on rainwater harvesting. What did I learn? I learned that people in villages, we call them poor. Not really. I have collected as much as 5 to 10 lakh rupees from every village. We implemented our system in 7 villages, built about 214 structures. What was the net conclusion? That to build a social enterprise, there are 4 inhibitors. One, trust deficit. People don't trust institutions, people don't trust each other. Second, the cultural side, that we have entitlement culture. It's government's job to provide water. We have the gender inequality. It's women's job to fetch water. Then we have ubiquitous segregation. We segregate based on color, skin color. We segregate based on language, religion, caste, multiple things. So these were cultural issues. What we have done is found a way to integrate culture into the system design. Won't take you much time. For example, we have respect for age. If someone is 75 in an audience, everyone will keep quiet, listen to. Can we translate this cultural requirement in a system design? So these are the kind of things we have done. We worship water. Can we translate that worship of water into a system design? So what we have done is taken our cultural traditions, I believe, and unlock that economic potential. What I'm looking for, my next dream is to build a local water utility in every community, to harvest as much as 10 million liters per community. So we have this idea of building a rainwater harvesting park, like a solar park. And the park will be over 10,000 square meters. In fact, you will be surprised, a local government gave me 10,000 square meters of land at no cost. But this is possible in India. And so we are building, and the roof should not cost more than $2.50 per square meter. But a big challenge. So I'm looking for a researcher who can work with me. We have the concept design. We want to build a prototype. Anyone who's interested in working with us and looks for a quantum jump, not incremental advancement, I would love to hear from them.
Got it, BP. Thank you for presenting it very lucidly. I'm glad that Mr. Nandakumar is listening to you. I will connect the two of you. Let's see what is possible from IIT Madras. Mr. BP Agarwal is Lemelson MIT Award winner 2010 for his work on appropriate technology, sustainable technology for water and so on. Pretty distinguished in his ways. You can see that there is a streak of madness in people like him and unreasonableness. I call it MUD as a category: mad, unreasonable, and demanding. All such people are like that, you know. And, you know, the trouble with Mr. BP Agarwal is if you get connected with him, he will hound you. He will be relentless until he gets done what he sets out to do. And what he wants to set out to do, like his mother told him, it will not be for him. Therefore, he will be more brazen about demanding things from you all. Anyone who wants to have any closing notes, it's 1:28, 2 minutes more. Lovely session again.
Can I have a word?
Yes, Mr. Rao.
Yeah, point number one, you are stretching the activity of WOW to Hyderabad?
Yes, please. Very soon, we will come back to you. Mr. Sanjay Gupta is there. Where is he? Is he going to speak? Sanjay Gupta.
No, 1 minute. Before that, so are you including Madam Kalpana in that group?
Of course, we will.
Because she has
not to worry. We will discuss offline. We will do all that. Without you, we will not do, Mr. Rao.
That is one thing. Another thing is, may I request that WOW, every meeting, every fortnightly meeting should include at least a 5-minute presentation by somebody who has actually implemented things. Today's meeting, I give 100 marks for Mr. Sunil Mysore, who has really shown, though the video was not clear, I will again see it in the YouTube. So that is what we want. Seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. Now, for a very long time, I have been asking Mr. Vijay Sisodia to say sort of, present his, models, soft models or hard models. Such a thing should be presented in this WOW. I believe he has recently done an excellent work on the floodwater management in subways with some, say, injection wells or whatever it is. So can we have a 5-minute slot for people who actually implemented at the site through actual visuals, photographs, preferably videos from next meeting onwards?
Actually, the credit goes this time for getting Sunil and Alok to our mission director, Suresh Bhai. And he came up with this idea some 3-4 days, maybe a week ago, and here we are. The second is that every time, Ganesh Sandbag has been saying that every time from now on, they will have solution implementers. If I go with what you are suggesting, Mr. Rao, we will probably have, say, two solution implementers every time. Maybe we'll ask, definitely Vijay. Vijay is part of family. So we'll ask Vijay Sishodia to present next time. Again,
yeah, I'm waiting for Mr. Viraj for almost 6 months to 9 months, sir.
We will do that. We will work that.
What exactly has been wonderful level.
We will work that. Suresh Bhai, back to you now.
Yeah.
Last 1 minute. Probably
I think the year would not have started in a better note than what it is today. I think extremely good session. Thanks to Mr. Sunil Mysore and his team who have explained the intricacies of rainwater harvesting, how difficult for the associations to convince others and get it through. And I thank all the participants today for raising the questions, listening to the sessions patiently. And today is a Sankranti day, and wishes to everyone who attended. And we end the session today and look forward for your active participation in the next few months.